Hi everybody, welcome to OG'S Hookin and Stitchin Island Style. I'm Antoinette, your host for today, coming to you from Deer Island, New Brunswick, Canada, a little island in the Bay of Fundy. This is take 2. When I went to upload the video, somewhere along the line, the whole thing got lost, so I have to redo the video. I wanted to work on tutorials today for the Afghan for the cow, but I gotta get this video up first. So, first off, thank you to all returning subbies. Thank you for the new subbies. Hope you're enjoying the content that is offered here. If you have any suggestions for something you'd like to see, please feel free to comment or email me. The email and contact information will be at the end of the video in the description box. So today we're going to talk a little bit about admin, a little bit about being a pattern tester, whips, don't have no foes, and some acquisitions. So first off, I'd like to start with the acquisitions. Yes, my yarn ban is still in place, with the exception of my minor purchase from Hobie for the Wyvern knitted shawl pattern. I have been a good girl, and believe me, I've passed up a lot of sales that really just were calling me. But first off, we'll start with the acquisitions. Alright, these all came from Amazon. I just watched for them to, go on sale for a fairly decent price. I don't want to pay $50 for a book. So I got these books because of the fact that I want to try and design my first pattern this year. I think the first one's going to be crochet, because crocheting is a little easier than knitting. Some crocheters may disagree, but being bi-stitchable, I find knitting is a slower process as opposed to crocheting. Both have complex stitch patterns and what have you, but I do find that crocheting does go faster. The first one I got is Tunisian crochet book, and it's Tunisian stitches, and it's from Leisure Arts, which is the pattern we're using for our crochet along. And this book is by Kim Guzman. She has tutorials and a whole list of classes you can take for Tunisian crochet, and I am on her emailing list, so I get something usually every day. But it just shows you all the different Tunisian stitches, charts, as well as written. And let me see here, one that that you might, let me see, the Tunisian knit stitch is one of the easiest ones, and I'm doing that one in my elf coat. The Tunisian knit stitch, Tunisian simple stitch. But I want to expand my genre of Tunisian stitches, so this will be a big help. I mean, it shows Tunisian lace, all kind of different stitches, but it was very inexpensive. It was less than $15. The next one I got is by Betty Barndon. It is the Crochet Bible, and it has, I think, over 200 crochet stitches in it. What I like about it is I love the fact that it's bound like this, so it'll lay flat when I'm trying to do something, and it gives you some an introduction into different techniques, tips, tricks, but it gives in the beginning here, and then it goes on and it categorizes the stitch collection, and it shows you it says try a small sample of any stitch using a plain yarn and a light color to help you understand the construction. And it gives you your basic stitch patterns, and then it starts into textured stitches, and it has lace stitches and picot stitches and all different kinds. But it's got a lot of good information in it. The other one I got is another crochet book, and it is the complete book of 5 700 crochet stitches. And look at the front of the book. Don't some of them stitches look yummy? And this book is by Linda P. Schapper. And all this information I will put in the description box below. And I think I still have the links for where I got them at on Amazon.ca. But it has, I mean, look at some of these patterns. For designing, I think it's going to be great because you can actually build your design around a stitch, combination of stitches. But that's one of my other acquisitions. And the final one is knitting. This is the Ultimate Knit Stitch Bible. 750 knitting stitches. And this book is done through St. Martin's Griffin. And I mean, it's hard. It's a hardback. And it's just got tons of knitting stitches. Color work. So these are the first books I've bought for knitting and crocheting, and I'm looking forward to really getting a chance to really look at them and start, you know, practicing some of the stitches. And if I'm working on a pattern and I have a question about a stitch, I can go to one of those books. So they'll be a big help. The other thing is pattern tester. Right now I'm currently testing 2 patterns for Stephanie Aaron. The first one, I can't really show you much because they have not been released yet, but I can do like a teaser. This one here is called the Celestial Capelet. And Stephanie Aaron does a lot of beautiful designs, a lot of garments. And I'm just going to give you a little teaser here. Can't really give you too much information about it because but we can do teasers, she said. So that's what it looks like so far. I don't know if you can see this. This is done with Cotton King's Twirl from Hobie, and it's that fingering yarn. It's, you know, the one that has the 4 strands, 4 thread strands, and it's held double with mohair. I will show you. I just don't want to get on my, because this stuff gets knotted up. It's no fun. This is the mohair that I'm using. It's by Yarn Arts, Kid Mohair. Made in Turkey. It's 70% kid mohair and 20% polyamide and 10% metallic, because it's hard to see, but if you see if the light will catch it, you can see there, it's got a slight metallic to it. And when we say that this thread is fine, that is, and you hold that double with the Cotton King's Twirl, which is 100% cotton, and as you can see, I don't know if we get it to come apart here or not. Yeah, if you look, it's 4 separate threads. So yeah, it can be challenging, but it's not too bad. But that's the first pattern I'm testing for her. The second pattern, I'm using a size 5 H-hook. Now the next pattern I'm testing for her is a sweater. I can't show you a picture of the sweater, but it is gorgeous, and I am doing it with Patton's lace. And this is an 80 acrylic, 10 mohair, 10 wool. I've never worked with mohair in 2 patterns. I'm doing mohair back to back. But this is, isn't it beautiful? It's called Dove Gray. I don't know how true to color this is. It's sort of like looking like it's blue, but it's called Dove Gray. Maybe it's got a tinge of blue in it. But that's the pattern that I'm doing, and I'm just going to give you, that's just part of it. This pattern is done two hooks, and you're interchanging them. So it's a little bit more challenging, but I enjoy Stephanie's patterns. You can find her on Instagram, and I'll put her information down below also. this segues into something I had discussed in an earlier video about being a pattern tester. So you want to be a pattern tester, okay? First off, I'll tell you it's really rewarding because you get to test patterns that nobody else has seen yet, and you get to help the designer find out if there are any issues with stitch count, row count, any problems with the pattern in knitting or crocheting it. And most of the time, the designers give very generous finish times. There is one pattern testing site, it's on Facebook, that their timelines were just too constricted for me to do tests for them. I mean, they had a Tunisian sweater I wanted to do, but I didn't get the pattern in time, they gave you 10 days. I work for a living, as probably most of you. So, although I crochet and knit every day, I don't sit there for 8 hours and just knit, or crochet, hook it, whatever. So I, politely declined any more test patterns for that group until the patterns are a little bit more realistic on the design turnaround times. Some of the sites that you can go to, yarnpond.com is a good site. You have to sign up. It doesn't cost you anything to. And they'll list a bunch of open calls, which means once you sign up for this site and you put your knitting experience, crocheting experience, what level you think you're at, and some other questions they ask, you can go and apply to do the test for the designer, and they will respond and let you know. And it's got a great resource. I met quite a few people from one of the tests I'd done for them, from a good designer. Another place is Instagram. You'll see, depending on who you're following, you'll see where they say, call out for pattern testers. Eclair Makery, Stephanie, and a couple other designers will put a pattern test call out, and you can respond to it. Now, some of them it's just respond by DM. Other ones they have a link that goes to their site, and it says pattern tester application. They ask you some very simple questions. Usually there are unique to the pattern they want tested. Like when I tested for that one, they had asked me if I had worked with fingering yarn, had I worked with switching hooks within the pattern, what is my, what do I feel my skill level is. I always put advanced beginner, bordering intermediate. They'll ask you questions, something unique about yourself. Have you ever tested patterns? If so, who? And things like that. So that was another site that was actually very informative, and it's a good site. Another place is Ravelry. If you go onto Ravelry under groups and put search terms pattern test, there's some groups that come up. One is called the test pool, and there's some that are specific to crochet, specific to knit, specific to blankets, garments. So that's another place that is a good resource for becoming a pattern tester. Facebook also has a couple that I have seen. I'm sure there's more. The only two that I know of currently are yarnhookandneedles and starlily. So if you just go to Facebook and you can search, and it'll come up. Like I said, I'm going to try to put as much information in the description box as I can. Now, another way is simply Google it. Just Google pattern tester. Knit pattern tester, crochet pattern tester, or knit and crochet pattern tester. And a lot of different information sites and stuff will come up. One of the questions somebody had asked me was, do you get paid? There are some designers or design houses that do pay pattern testers. I haven't got in with any of them yet. First off, I don't think I'm good enough. So would I love to get paid to test patterns? Absolutely. How much do they pay? No idea. I guess it would entail some more research on my part. Another thing is, at the end of the test, the designers usually will give you the finalized copy of the pattern that they're releasing as a, a gift or compensation for testing for them. And a lot of them will also offer you either another free pattern from their site or Ravelry, what have you, or they'll give you a discount code that you can go in and you can purchase from their Etsy shop or Ravelry or whatever. Some testers or designers have supplied the yarn for the pattern that you're going to test, simply because they want it done in that specific yarn. All of the designers I've tested for, I keep my item that I test knitted for them, or test crocheted, which is most of the case. Now, there are another way they do as a pattern tester is a sample. You knit or crochet the samples. Those are sent to the designer. They use those for trunk shows, trade shows, photographing, and stuff like that. I have not done that yet. I'm just testing patterns. So that might be another avenue for you to go outside your comfort zone, try something new, expand your crocheting or knitting skills. And if you have any questions and I'm able to answer them, just leave them to me in the comment, and I will. I do read all my comments. I try to answer, reply to as many as I can. Excuse me. But so I did put up a tutorial for the alternate puff stitch for the cow, and I'm going to try to get to do a few more today. So that's still going on, and please feel free to post on the Facebook group Yarny Yayas any questions you have, or some of your blocks you have done. That would be good to see. I don't have any finished objects. Got a lot going on. I am still working on my elf coat. It's kind of, everything's put aside right now while I'm doing these two pattern tests, with the exception of I'm still knitting on my sock, because that's like a lot of fairy work. And I'm turning the heel, and this is where I'm at on it, and 9-inch circulars. So I'm learning a new technique, how to turn the heel and everything on my 9-inch circulars without having to go to DPNs. So that's about the only whip I have going on, other than the other pair of work socks, the two test patterns, the blocks for the Afghan, and my elf coat. And I have my funny bay shawl that I'm still working on. So the other thing that I quickly mentioned was I actually have been making stitch markers since probably before Christmas. I'll just show you some of the stitch markers that I made. Mine aren't as fancy as some of the other stitch markers I see. So I'll show you. So I make them for knit and crochet. This is a knit one. I have these. This is a crochet one. This can be knit or crochet. Little elephant. These ones here, these ones here, as you can see, it can be crochet or knit. It could be a progress keeper, stitch marker. But I have all kind of new charms, the lever backs. These were supposed to be here by Christmas. They just showed up, so they'll be for next year. And I'm starting to do more of a nautical theme, stitch markers. I'll be making some of those. And one of the other ways I'm going to is attaching to these little light bulb. I think that way you can use it for either knitting or crocheting. I try to be for the people that are by Stitchable. If you would like a set of stitch markers, leave me a message and I will get in contact with you to get some shipping information. I don't have a problem with sending out, some stitch markers to a fellow Yarnian. Yarny Yaya, whatever you want to refer to yourself. The other thing that I wanted to quickly go over is I see that Courtney got her second box and she did a video, and I'm happy she did. She was our 100 subscriber winner, and Judy from Witchcraft Piece, I think. I'm sorry, Judy, if I messed up. I'll put it correctly in the box below. Was the actual literal 100 subscriber. So they each got a little something. I'm not rich. I don't do a lot of giveaways. That's the only one actually I've done. But I did some thinking. And if I want to do a giveaway, if I want to thank somebody for watching and taking time out of their day to spend time listening to me babble on or show my mediocre knitting and crocheting, I would like to thank them in some small way. Just, a little token here and there. So what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of the videos I've done at random. And I'm going to go into that video, and I am going to do the random YouTube comment picker and pick somebody. I will message them via a reply to their comment from that video, and they'll have, a week to get back with me. And if not, then I will pick a second one. I will show just a quick video of the YouTube random comment picker, so you can see who the winner is. But I'm not going to announce it. I'm just going to do it. I like the interaction I have with the people that comment, and I appreciate it. And I am open to suggestions and constructive criticism. I mean, I'm new at this. I ain't been doing it, well, I think 6 months maybe. And the purpose of this channel is just to share the island and knitting and crocheting. So, you never know when your name might come up. You never know when I'm going to do it. It's just going to be a surprise. I like the element of surprise. Like some people like those mystery boxes. I have never got one yet. Something when I get off my yarn van I think I'm going to do. So to close this video, I thought we would do a short story from Tales from a Small Island by Sterling Lambert. And there have been quite a few in here. And I thought I would read one to you that was from the late 1800s. This picture right here, this is Deer Island. This is the U.S. Eastport. That's how close we are to it, that section of the island, to the mainland, to the United States. And this is the Bay of Fundy. So the one I'm going to read today is called The Wedding Trousseau. The year was 1854, and a young Deer Island couple, William Dowdy and Maggie Lambert, were busy making plans for their upcoming wedding. They both needed new clothes, and like most country folk, this meant a trip to town. Town to a Deer Islander in those days, and for many years to come, was nearby Eastport, Maine, which meant the journey had to be by boat. On the first day, the weather was fine. The young couple, accompanied by longtime friends Charles and Ida Adams, who were brother and sister, began their journey along the coastline of Deer Island. As the carefree foursome approached Deer Island Point, the young men got out the oars. Eastport was now less than half a mile away, but the last leg of the journey had to be made across the tide-swollen passage between Deer Island and their destination, and the boat with sail alone would not stem the tide. The men pulled on the oars with all their might as the tide and whirlpools twisted their small craft to and fro. Slowly they inched their way toward Eastport and were near halfway across the treacherous passage when they noticed a large vessel laden deep with lumber being carried swiftly along by the tides and coming straight for them. As the distance between them narrowed, the large vessel frantically tried to alter its course, but all in vain. The vessel would not respond to her rudder, and the breeze in her sails was not strong enough to overcome the surging tides. The men in the small boat strained on the oars with all their might, but just as they would think they were out of the path of the great looming vessel, the tide would twist them or larger craft back on a collision course. As the deeply laden vessel bore down on them, the young women screamed in terror, and the men threw down their oars. The great ship's bow sliced through their small craft like a hot knife through butter. William, the young bridegroom-to-be, jumped and managed to grab hold of the bobstay of the large vessel. He hung on and watched in horror as he saw his intended bride, Maggie, and his friend Charles both sucked beneath the surface of the swirling tides. Miraculously, Charles' sister Ida was rescued. She was wearing a large hoop skirt, which was the fashion of the day, and the air trap beneath it floated her on the top of the sea like a cork. William had lost his bride-to-be, and Ida had lost her brother. But some time later, the two survivors became united in marriage. This story was related to Sterling Lambert by the surviving couple's great-granddaughter, Alma Thera. So, who says that fashion can't be a lifesaver? But that's just another story from Deer Island, and it shows you that in days gone by, they were hardy people. They were able to survive pretty much anything, and they were very ingenuitive. They like to invent things. I'm just having a problem with words today. But I hope you like that, and tune in again for another story from Tales from a Small Island, and maybe another fairy chat later this week, and to see what's going on with the possible giveaways. And I hope you'll have a great week. My Yarny Yayas, enjoy your day. Happy crafting, happy crocheting, happy knitting, happy blooming, whatever you do. And don't forget to smile at someone as they smile back at you, and pass it on, and it makes the world a better place. Bye now from Deer Island. Thanks for watching.